Have you ever been writing a fantastic scene full of tension and dripping with emotional nuances? This scene is the best thing you've written and spent hours, if not days, on it, only to realize in a late moment of clarity that it has absolutely nothing to do with the plot of the novel. It hurts so much to hit delete on all that work. But what if there was a way to ensure you aren't wasting your inspiration and writing time on stuff you'll cut later? If you're a fantasy author, then you've come to the right place. My name is Autumn, and together with Jesper, we've written and published more than 20 novels. Our aim is to use our experience to help you with writing, marketing, and selling books to fans all over the world. Most writing pitfalls aren't genre specific and affect all authors. These are the big ones, laying like landmines in a field of wildflowers. You think everything is going along just beautifully until boom! And one of the big ones is figuring out what should go where as you write, or if what you are writing even belongs in the novel. You know what I'm hinting at, that dirty P word. Plotting.
But readers like character-driven stories.
Oh, hello, old McGrumpy. I knew I couldn't escape an entire video without you making an appearance as our mostly unwanted AI co-host. That is true. Readers love character-driven stories, and that is one reason many writers shy away from spending time on plotting.
So you shouldn't plot.
I wouldn't say that. Many writers prefer to pants rather than plot. I'm a hybrid that is a bit more on the side of a pantser than a plotter. Always tended to jump in the fire before I assessed anything.
But this video is about plotting, and you said you are a pantser. Humans are confusing and like superior eye.
Actually, the video is about creating an outline. I make one to keep myself out of trouble. Well, as much writing trouble as possible, at least.
What is the difference? Plotting is plotting.
Well, because I don't want to plot much. I developed a method of creating an ultra-quick outline that takes about half an hour and will guide my process as I write without feeling like I just wasted a week that I could have been writing the darn thing instead of figuring out how to write the darn thing. That is why this isn't a plotting video, McGrumpy.
We'll see.
Despite McGrumpy's disbelief, a bit of plotting is a lifesaver. The first writing course I taught was called Write Great Novels Faster, and I used the slogan, "It doesn't matter how fast you type, if you just end up deleting the page anyway." So much writing help is centered on typing faster, like your only writing problem is time. But we all know ideas seem to disappear like vampires at sunrise when you finally sit down to write. Or when that inspiration strikes, it can lead you astray as much as actually help you write. Writing is complicated. I don't care how fast you type. If you don't know what you are writing is actually important to the novel, you are just wasting writing time. With 15 books out and about to release number 16 while beginning my 4th and 5th series, I firmly believe in protecting and making the most of my writing time, as well as keeping it on track. I'm serious about this shit. Which is why I teach writing tips and started with a course on how to write great novels faster, because the world needs more fantastic fantasy and no writer should get lost in the weeds. In fact, if you are looking for more key tips on how to write, especially start off writing and steps to make sure you succeed in actually finishing your work in progress, make sure to check out the free starter kit. The link is under the video. It will help you refine your idea, avoid novice pitfalls, and give you some great tools. That is how serious I am about making sure writers don't fail. Right, now we are talking about an outline though. One that is simple, doesn't take days. Heck, you can finish it in under a half an hour. Does half an hour investment sound like worth keeping your writing focused and moving? Good. So, let's get started. Start by looking at your own writing. How many words do you typically type in a chapter? Hopefully you've done enough writing to be able to create an average word count. If not, check out a book you've read that you like the flow of and get an estimate on the words per chapter, remembering that the average paperback has 250 to 300 words per page. Got that? Good. Now we need to find out what is the average word count is in your genre. There are lots of resources out there for this. I'll include a link in the notes below this episode to a great blog post with some solid numbers by subgenre. It is a good reference, but it's getting old. Word counts for indie authors are actually coming down. The important thing is to decide what you're writing, such as a short story, a novella, a novel, and how long you'd like it to be. Then take your target word count and divide it by your average chapter length. Presto! You have your target number of chapters. Why is that useful? Glad you asked. Well, if you take the typical graph of a story, like the traditional story arc, which looks like this, a traditional story arc starts out with a pretty flat tension until you hit the inciting incident. Then there's explosive tension growth towards the climax. But it isn't linear. The tension goes up and down a bit as you toy with your reader and characters. As the character goes through a few stages and some hurdles and lulls. Then there's the sweeping bell curve of the climax before it drops to a gentle wrap-up. That's a nice little flat tail, with tension is lower than the climax but higher than the intro. Pretty cool, huh? With the calculation you just did, you can add your chapters to the graph. Now you have an idea of where your inciting incident should fall, when you should be adding in hurdles and lulls, and when the climax begins, and you won't forget to do a wrap-up. Now, if you follow the 7 steps of story structure, which was covered in this video, you can also add in the steps, remembering that the inciting incident, an idea, dark night of the soul, is usually a chapter each. The intro and wrap-up are usually 1 to 3 chapters. The climax should be at least as long as the longest phase in your novel, either the reaction or the planning phase, which those don't have to be the same length. And again, presto, you have a rough outline. I do this with everything I write now, even short stories. My next release at the end of June is a novella that I targeted for 35,000 words. I typically write 2,500 words in a chapter, and that works out to 14 chapters. Guess what? Guess how many longs my novella is? 14. This really works. Better than that, I knew that chapters 1 to 2 would be my intro. As you can see from my quick outline, the inciting incident needed to happen by the end of chapter 2. Chapters 3 to 7 would be the reaction phase, while new info would occur in chapter 7. This would lead to the reaction phase from chapters 8 and 11, with the climax spanning 12 to 14, and a really quick wrap-up at the end of 14. That is all I put together before writing. Jesper, I know, will have a panic attack when he sees this, but it is all I need, and honestly, I have the entire series plotted out this way. Oh, but there's a bit more to a series included in this video. Could that be a hint of something coming in the future? This outline leaves room for inspiration, but it keeps going in the right direction, so I don't end up wasting a week's worth of writing, which means I'm writing a new book, my new book, that much faster. And I know I'm hitting all the key plot points, and that is the goal, isn't it? Don't forget to watch the video on the 7 steps of story structure to really develop your quick outline and create a solid guide that will get your writing, great novels faster. Stay safe out there and see you next Monday.